I came here with this whole mindset of I'm here to learn as much as I'm here to share. And, the very, very key thing is, all of you, maybe, I probably think that I'm maybe the oldest, maybe. I'm 51. I'm a single mother with 2 lovely kids. And the very key thing is that starting this whole journey on the conversation on crowdfunding wasn't something that I planned for. Basically, this whole entrepreneurship journey really gets me thinking about, why do I get onto this whole conversation on crowdfunding when I didn't plan for it was generally I got a lot of rejection. When I started the journey on building the company on Phoenix, I had this whole crazy idea about crowd wisdom. I had this whole thought since 2011 that, if you have your handphone, your contact list on your handphone, and your friends have their contact list, and somebody else's at the table, or your friend circles have a list of contact lists. I said, if we were to take out all this contact list and share, we probably have 10% in common. And imagine we have the other 90% of information or contact list that we could possibly, or maybe ideally, we would love to do some business with these people. But we did nothing. So just imagine that if, let's say, you can share this contact list and help to bridge the business or crowdsource the idea and solve a certain problem, create a movement, or even to say start a business. This whole crazy idea on this whole crowd wisdom, and I believe in this whole conversation on blue ocean strategy. So I presented the whole business idea, the whole entire business model to a few VCs. So the VC says, oh, I love your ideas, but you don't have a product like many of the other rest of the startups or the entrepreneurs have. And, why don't you come back, let's say 3 years later, or 2 years later, or 1 year later. So I was very determined with this whole idea of my business, and therefore I went on to say, they got to have many other ways to get some kind of a funding. So I went on to search on the internet and say, okay, so what is this whole, alternative funding or finance is all about? And I chanced on crowdfunding. When I chanced on crowdfunding, I basically get out to the US because I said, this is just too good to be true. I said, nobody would just give money over the internet, or nobody would just fund anybody. And because at that point of time, 2012, they reported that, this whole conversation on crowdfunding have already surpassed $2.7 billion. And I said, this is crazy. But when I really get there to learn from everybody in the crowdfunding space in the US, they have this whole synergy of working together. They have this whole synergy of sharing and guiding and working together to make things happen. So every conferences, every event that I attended in the US got me to think even deeper. If I, who have this problem getting funding, what about those other people who may also have the similar problem? And of course, with this whole learning on crowdfunding, when I turn around and take a look at Asia, I say, where's Asia as far as crowdfunding is concerned? So my original plan was also to go to the US and learn and say, maybe I could also do something like crowdfunding. Maybe I could start something, just bring it back to Asia or bring it back to Singapore and start crowdfunding. But the more I stay in the conferences, the more different states or cities that I go, the more I learn, the more I feel there is a calling. Or there is this thing that says, I'm not coming back with just building the conversation on just a platform. I'm coming back to drive the conversation on crowdfunding, to get more people involved in this whole entire conversation, because I believe that Asia is the power, is the wealth pool where, internationally they are looking at Asia, the world is looking at Asia, in terms of the next many years, as far as money, wealth, businesses are concerned. But what is Asia doing is that Asia is looking out and say, US is doing this, Europe is doing that. Let's wait and see what they are doing first. So I have this whole conversation within me, this whole conversation on this whole vision that, okay, I gotta do something about for Asia. So I decided to come back and say, I'm gonna start driving crowdfunding in Asia. And when I first came back, everybody was really laughing at me. They said, it won't work, and it will never work. Because specifically in Singapore, government is giving a lot of funding. There's so much money. But when I turn around and look at the rest of the country in Asia, is that not every country is like Singapore that has a government who is so generously supporting. Not many companies like maybe NTUC that is funding money, and maybe some other organization that's caring about the startups. So in other rest of the countries, the conversation on crowdfunding become even louder. All right? And of course, when I was trying to drive crowdfunding, it was really challenging. Even my own family says, you're crazy, you're nuts. You get, because my background, 20 years in cybersecurity, I get much well paid compared to starting a business and trying to do something like driving crowdfunding in Asia. So obviously, I get a lot of rejections, I get a lot of discouragement. And one thing that really pulled me through was, like what the last few speakers have shared about the purpose and the intention. So I went on and keep going. It's always a daily thing that, I get rejection, but I also get acceptance. And the conversation has never changed, as in like, when I faces the challenges, it's really the case of, I really sit, may not be on the grass, but really like this, as in like, what will happen, case of like, nobody understands me. And nobody really, appreciate what I'm doing. And nobody really think so highly about crowdfunding. But after this whole many years of rejection and so on and so forth, it's like, I kind of like immune to it because I'm much more passionately involved in this whole conversation on crowdfunding simply because of the regional countries that view crowdfunding very differently, as in the way they look at it is crowdfunding is a source of light to whatever that they are facing, like Indonesia, Thailand, you name it, those emerging countries or those countries that are not getting funding so easily, they've turned to crowdfunding as a very strong sense of alternatives. But of course, crowdfunding is still at a nascent stage across entire Asia. There are still a lot of work to be done. And I continue to keep going every day. I get good response, I get negative response. To me, it becomes a norm. Simply because I stay extremely, extremely focused on what I believe in. And every other day, I do a lot of reading. Even just now, I captured quite a few slides from the past speakers, because I find that those slides are very interesting and helpful. Referencing to also what Dennis just shared about team, culture, resourceful. In fact, in the conversation on crowdfunding, I'm also testing something very new, which is called crowdsourcing, as in all the work that I'm doing right now, even the upcoming November 9, 10, 11, 12 event that I'm running, I'm also sourcing for people because I believe in this whole conversation on the crowd. I believe in crowd economy. I believe in, getting the crowd to be involved. So there is this whole conversation of, as I shared earlier with some of the speakers, is that, UN recently called for a global goals, 17 global goals. Those goals are not anything new. Rather they said zero poverty. Better environment, better energy, better water, equality, women's rights, and so on and so forth. You can get on and check, global goals. But my debate or my take is that when you talk about all these global goals, are they something new? No. Are they in existence for that many years? Yes. But what is it that's not working? Is that the crowd are not really enrolled into many of these initiatives that they're doing. So I'm also testing something in conversation with, taking in consideration of crowdfunding together with this whole conversation on global goals in working with social entrepreneurs and also the different vertical industry to look at what we can do to resolve or to address those global issues. Because I personally very much believe that if we don't try, we never know. Even if we fail, all right, it is an experience. So, this whole conversation by Thomas Edison, I've not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. This is something that really keeps me going. So, when I get a rejection of sponsors, I said, it's okay. It's an experience. Keep going to the next one. Keep going to get more enrollment. The support and success, my personal experience, I learned this very much from one of the training school, but I continually, every day, I practices it because I have this whole compelling desire that at some point, crowdfunding in Asia will shape up. Crowdfunding in Asia will not only shape up, but serves the different gaps that traditional finances doesn't serve. And crowdfunding itself would also, support those global goals that they are advocating. So I have this whole firm belief, very solid belief that I believe that things would change, and that's why I even came out with this term says that crowdfunding is a game changer. And the effective action is something that I test every day. Every day I do something new. And every day, in fact, when I wake up in the morning, look at the mirror, the first thing is I smile to myself first, and say, I'm going to start the day right. Even yesterday, I get, cold blankets, rejection. I said, that is passé. I leave for now. And, I have this favorite term called, you only live once, So every day I say, I won't know whether if tomorrow I wake up or not, but I give it my best shot. I may not be the best, perfect speakers today, but it's okay. I learn. The learning journey gets me motivated, keeps me on my toe, and tells me that, I have more room for improvement. End of the day is, this whole iron wheel that kept me going and learning every single day makes it fun. And of course, people that I mix around with also makes a whole lot of a difference. I stay away from people that everything is negative, everything is impossible, everything is not likely. I hang out with people who are pursuing and believing that there is always a better ways, there is always a greater day, there is always something that can be done, So I enjoy reading up a lot to keep myself going forward because I believe I have this whole very vital role to play to serve the crowd. And throughout this whole conversation, I have not talked about money simply because, I enjoy and appreciate my roller coaster ride. I started from young, 6 years old, I started to wash bowl to get my pocket money already. And, in fact, I sell bread, I sell generally anything. Probably not like Dennis, so clever. He buys 20 cents of rubber and then he can sell $1. I'm generally very grounded, as in like, okay, I must work hard, I must do more. I must show to my bosses that, I'm worth the value that he pay me. Gone are the days where probably today's youngster is a little bit different, but, the mindset of I must do more to serve without expecting return is generally something that keeps me going even in this current situation. So I started my first business by chance also in 2001, running cybersecurity, doing it on a regional basis. I never know how. I was just thrown to the opportunity. Would you like to be a distributor? I said, okay, I'll be a distributor. And then I started developing and building the business, but with the key fundamental that ground me to serve the customer is, priority is to serve the customers and get the customers the best and the most value for money. So that actually also earns me a space where, I earn the trust from the customers. Okay. Then, of course, along the way, when things changes for me, when my personal life changes, then of course, then I started something else on my own, and I learned a lot from people around me as well. So crowdfunding conversation started in 2013, and November 9 is in fact the second crowdfunding summit we'll be running. Okay, so I'm gonna just run through just this one slide because there are different kinds of crowdfunding. So for those who are interested, you can just come to me later on because I think I'm running out of time. So I just have this whole last slide that, I continually think possibilities for many of the entrepreneurs here. All right, keep going. All right, act positively and grow purposefully. All right, thank you very much.